Hello, Captains. Welcome back to my channel. I am your host, USS Endeavor. Welcome aboard the Tier 7 Tech Tree French cruiser, the Charles Martel. Now, let's take a look at some of the things about this ship. It's been here for a really long time. It was one of, if not the first lines that you could grind up, and this was the top of the line way back in the day. And since then, a couple of more ships have been added, but this one's been kind of the mainstay and the one that a lot of people are familiar with. So if you're not familiar with it, we're going to go over the build, the ship itself, all the stats that are associated with it, and then I'll give you kind of my thoughts on it. So stick around, Captains. Here we go. Yet again, we have Rue at the helm. Now, I'm not telling you, Captain, how to play your ship. I'm not telling you how to play the Charles Martel. This is just the way that I found works best for me. As we picked a turret rotation in the first mod slots. Second one is going to be propulsion mod instead of steering gears. And I'll explain why I choose to do that as opposed to lowering my rudder even more. But in the third, I do pick steering gears over the concealment mod because I'm trying to get my rudder shift down quite a bit. And then the last slot, we're using the main battery reload. No epic or legendary this time. Now, this is what's new. You have a option between the main battery reload booster and the hydro. And I gotta be honest, you can really play this either way. I chose the main battery reload booster, and this is the other pick you could have used, but I don't have it. I just wanted to show it. It has a duration for detecting ships at 100 or 96 seconds. It detects it out to 4.4 kilometers. So it's still strong. Both of those picks are strong. So it's kind of hard to pick. Although this one is kind of a no-brainer. Repair party, I'd do that over the plane. And then your engine speed boost increases from plus 15% to now plus 20%. Making you even faster when this thing is active for 3 minutes. On to survivability, you have 38,000 even with a 14% torpedo damage reduction. And we will, as always, look at the armor here shortly. But kind of to go back to that, those consumables, that's what's new. And it actually came out right before the Tier 8's released. And in this one, I just chose the main battery reload booster because it's new. On to the artillery. We have the same 203s, however, they're back in the like Emile and Leglicinier format in a 3x3 turret configuration with 6 up front, 3 in the back. 180-degree turn time for the turrets is just above 20 seconds with a 9-second reload. And the AP hits really hard. Don't forget that. However, sometimes if you're up close, you can get overpens, and they can be a little trolly, but 50% chance to set fires as well. Onto the torpedoes. You have 6 torpedoes, 3 on either side. They reach out to 10 kilometers. They're very similar to Algerie, in which you've just played. They're practically identical torpedoes. They have the exact same amount, the same range, the same speed. I'm not quite sure on the maximum damage if it's a little bit better. But they're pretty much Algerie torpedoes, which you should be familiar with. Onto the AA defense, you have a little over a 50 rating, so not bad, not terrible, just pretty much right at average. They start going off at 5 kilometers, so that's helpful. The quicker that your AA starts going off, I feel, the better. However, the bulk of it doesn't hit until 3.5. Onto the maneuverability, and this is kind of what we've spec'd into with this build. And remember, the maximum speed is before you pop the engine speed boost. 38.2 knots, 690-meter turning circle radius, which is really good. And the rudder shift time is down to 3.3 seconds. Now, it's not insane like Hipper videos, but I can really use this, especially with the starting and the stopping. Makes this a really tough ship to hit if you know how to work those. And the concealment, unfortunately, will take a hit. 12.8 kilometers is actually not very good for a cruiser, and you do get spotted relatively quickly in this thing, so making sure you're at top speed with the engine speed boost is key before you get into those engagements. This is my individual ship stats. 66% win rate, hovering around 60 games in her. Not a lot, not terrible, but, you know, I'm doing okay in it. On to the armor scheme. This is where you kind of get let down. Your armor is not all that great. And because you're at this tier, 25 millimeters isn't going to stop anything except for 14-inch guns, which you rarely go up against at this tier. And your casemate is not heavily armored. That blue section in the front is going to let shells, you can get pinned through the nose super easy. And same with the sides, because even when you're angled in this thing, you're still going to take hits, which is why staying at speed and at range and knowing your ships that you're up against and how to go at them is key. Same T structure, except that front part is thicker, meaning that battleships have a better chance of arming. And there's really no chance for them to overpen your citadel. If they hit it, they're going to cause massive damage. And that's kind of how she is. All right, captains, here we go. We are in the Charles Martel. We are on the map Shatter. And it's the crappy capture the base game mode, the one that I always know and love. No, really. It's not the best game mode. It's probably the worst, if I'm being honest. But, we're going to work with what we got. Here we're spawning right smack dab in the middle of the map. And it is a carrier game mode. And this is going to be a tough game. We are top tier, so we got that in our advantage. I will say this right off the rip. If you are up tiered in this boat, you're in for a really rough ride. And but whenever you are not, then sometimes magic can happen. Here we notice that the Moss, which is one of the two destroyers in the game, is pushing straight up the middle. And it looks like they have an Eastern Dragon, which is kind of like a Miyoko. And they're heading straight up the middle. And because I chose the main battery reload booster as opposed to the Hydro, I don't have that spotting that I normally would have. Here I get spotted, which I am assuming is another ship that's way out there in the distance, because I don't think it's the destroyer just yet. However, I was wrong. It is, and I have no real ability to spot them. Here, I'm really close to the Southern Dragon. I got to be honest, I got 4 penetrations and no citadels. However, he does get taken out by torpedoes right before mine can hit, which kind of stinks. And there's the Moss, like I said. I switched to HE, and he does pop smoke, but he's riding right on through it, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So here I'm trying to back up because I have no Hydro to help me. And that's when the Zeton saves the day and comes in. And he does have Hydro. In fact, he's got really good Hydro. So I get kind of fortunate in that in this particular instance, I kind of get the benefit of a Hydro with the main battery reload booster without technically having Hydro. So because the Zeton is making this really aggressive push up the middle, which I wouldn't necessarily advise, because he's going to start getting focused. And there, his Hydro picks up the Moss, like I was saying. So we're going to come in here, pop our reload booster, and start going to town on this guy. But he just gets focused way too fast before we can really take full advantage of our reload booster. So kind of a waste right there. It was all with the best intentions of wiping him off the board. But anyway, the destroyer's gone. That's the important thing, and that was the whole reason why I did it. Here, the North Carolina is going to take a shot at us, and we are flat broadside and not at full speed. And I'm just thankful these didn't delete me. It should have been a worse hit than it was. It definitely can and do a lot of damage to me, but I got fortunate there. And because the Zeton is making this aggressive push, and it's pretty much wide open, the red team decided to leave the middle relatively open. They did send 2 ships in, but both ships got taken out. I didn't get any of those kills, but the Amalfi is really the only thing that's stopping us over here. Now, he does have long-range, very slow sea mine torpedoes, which I am aware of, but he also could potentially have the SAP rounds equipped, and truth be told, I don't remember if he has those or not. But this Amalfi, I'm guessing, has an agility build on it as it keeps moving and twisting and turning, making my shell selections tough to make. So every time I think I'm going to get a broadside, he ends up turning back the other way, and I don't quite get full advantage of it. So, but we are already into the cap, and it hasn't even been 5 minutes. So we are basically forcing the red team that pushed all the way on the hard flank out there to turn around and come back. And we have to be aware of the Saipan, which is a really nasty carrier at tier 7. It's very good and it's very strong. So we decided to switch to AP and see if we can chunk and Citadel this thing from range, because it's basically Cleveland armor, but on a carrier platform. But we're not able to get any Citadels, even though he's flat broadside, getting really no good decent hits. So I'm getting a little trolled here, and not able to get the penetrations of the hits that I would like. Just overall not very accurate, which is really frustrating, especially at range. There the Amalfi pops up, switching back to AP because he's flat broadside yet again. But like I was saying before, he's going to switch and turn back in or turn back out, and we're not going to be able to get any hits on his broadside. And there's those sea mines that I was telling you about. Here he does make a turn, and I had AP ready and loaded, and I think this is a Citadel shot right here, but it's not like the most amazing shot. I get one Citadel, but it doesn't look like I took much off of him. I think that was really the only hit that I got on him. So I got really trolled on the accuracy here. Usually this thing is not that inaccurate, but you know, it happens. But the good thing is that we're in the cap, ships are tied, and we are generating the only points on the team. We've negated them from getting points for the last minute and a half, which has allowed us to bring the score back. Here the Amalfi decides to go dark, and technically I am still in the cap. However, I am keeping an eye on these battleships, the North Carolina and the Iowa, which I know are coming back, and I am aware of the fact that planes could be coming this way. The fact that they haven't already been coming is quite surprising to me. And eventually the Amalfi is going to pop out of his smoke, so I know I'm about to get spotted any minute. And there it is, and as soon as that happens, 3 of those ships that I was talking about all target me. So I am forced to kind of get off the cap and start getting back up to speed, and I have to kind of play the kiting game. There I only take a really nasty hit to my turret, and now I gotta kind of duck, dodge, weave, just dive, dip, duck, dodge. Dodgeball reference there. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of move around and maneuver and try to make these guys miss as best as I can. And if I can utilize my torpedoes in this format, I will. But I'm not slowing down in order to try and get these torpedoes off. I really need to stay at range. But now I've dropped spot. Now I'm going to turn back in. And you're about to see me make a little bit of a mistake here, which I should have been punished a heck of a lot more for, if I'm perfectly honest. But the Zeton, unfortunately, I guess he's getting bored, decides to push out and try to take these 2 guys on. But I was asking him to get back because I knew that was going to happen. Him staying where he was, allowing the ships to come to him, I think would have been the better play. And here's that mistake I was telling you about. I got a little too tunnel visioned on those ships, and I run smack dab into an island. I'm lit up like a Christmas tree. The carrier gets a drop on me, but thankfully I'm able to dodge all those. But as far as the shells that are coming in from these guys, I can't really dodge. I just gotta hope and pray that they miss, and my prayers are answered. Yay! RNG finally sends one my way. So now I got to get up to speed. I popped my engine speed boost, which actually has been active for the last minute and a half. I didn't just pop it, but this battleship comes around and kind of saves the day for me, allowing me the opportunity to kind of maneuver and get out of here and have them shoot at another target for a change, which they do. So I'm kind of thankful for that. And here I'm looking at these torpedoes that I threw out there at the Iowa, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get I'm going to get a torpedo hit. And right as I'm about to hit them, they quit. So I put them on the exact line that I wanted to, but unfortunately they don't find their home. And now we are just going to try and stay at range, play the kiting game, and try to set these guys on fire. That other set of torpedoes is going into the Iowa, and I'm guessing he wasn't able to spot these. And as I turn and dodge those, and I get the Iowa right on the nose, causing a flood, and that one's gonna stick, going to give me consistent damage from that. The Iowa is apparently just damage conned right before that happened, and he's not going to be able to put that out. So I'm not even focusing him because I don't need to. Now I'm focusing all my efforts on this North Carolina, trying to keep my Colorado alive as long as I possibly can. I'm thankful that he came in to distract these ships, because otherwise I probably would have gotten really chunked hard by now. As the Iowa goes down to our flood, and now we are continually focusing the North Carolina from range. I'm still aware of the fact that this other ship is out here, the Amalfi, as there we get our high caliber medal. And now I'm going to push my way back in, because the North Carolina is now low enough to where I think I can start aggressively pushing in and not kiting out anymore. We are up slightly on ship count. It's just the North Carolina, the carrier, and the Amalfi, and they're all over here. And so I got to be aware of that. But the North Carolina is constantly focusing the Colorado. So I'm just going to keep focusing this guy while I have the advantage, setting him on fire every once in a while. And there the Amalfi pops up, which is not ideal for our Colorado, but good to know that he's there. Again, they're going to be focusing the Colorado, trying to get him off the board, and then they're going to be turning their attention onto me here really, really soon. So props to that Colorado for coming out here and really helping me out. I really appreciate you, buddy. You really helped be a positive and good distraction for me, which helped us get to this point. So thank you very much. Here I switch to the HE, unfortunately, as he goes flat on broadside. I'm assuming he's getting torpedoes off on the Colorado, and we do set him on fire. We did switch back to the AP, and we're going to launch our salvo smack dab right into him. And I got to be honest, this should have been deletion, but we get one Citadel, but still not enough to take them out. Those torpedoes are coming in on the Colorado. However, our torpedoes that we shot earlier finally take him out, and the Colorado dodges the set of torpedoes. So here I'm kind of giving him a thumbs up. Good job, buddy. And so now we're going to come back into the cap. The carrier is the only thing left. So this is pretty much GG's at this point. And I'm pushing in, but if the carrier is going to focus me a little bit. So at this point, we're just kind of trying to stay alive. We are going to be dodging a little bit here and there. But overall, this match is pretty much over. I'll be honest, guys and gals, whoever's watching this, I had a really tough time trying to get a good game in the Charles Martel. It took me several attempts and really kind of tested myself to see how well I could play in the new meta with the tier 8s, as I really largely forgot about this cruiser. I played it quite frequently when I first got it several years ago, but I hadn't taken it out since really the tier 8s made their way onto the scene. And I gotta be honest, it doesn't do well against tier 8s. It definitely didn't do well against legendaries when 7s and legendaries were allowed to go toe-to-toe against each other. And I really kind of shelved it because I didn't like the fact that you would have to go up against those styles of ships. And even at tier 7, it can struggle. This was probably the best game that I got out of it. I know you can do better in it. I just simply didn't. It is a fun ship. It's not the easiest ship. It has kind of gotten a little, not nerfed, but everything around it has just gotten better. There are just so many other ships out there that can do better than this thing does. And here I'm getting off the cap. I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I wasn't going to be able to cap it anyway. The time on the clock was actually lower than how much time was left to cap the base. So I figured I'd just kind of push out here and hopefully spot the carrier and try to get some more shots to pad my stats. But, you know, we're approaching 10 seconds here. We're almost done. Our carrier is coming out to try and spot this thing, but it's over at this point. And there he gets spotted, and even though I take a shot, there's still not even enough time for our shells to even reach the guy. So that's a look at the Charles Martel. Yes, you can play it a couple different ways. This is just the way that I chose to play it, utilizing the new main battery reload booster. And it can have its time. It can be fun at times, but it's just kind of underperforming for me at this point. But I think that's more of the captain than the ship. 25.99 base XP, essentially 2,600, and not bad. So there you go. Thanks again, captains, for tuning in. Again, like, share, subscribe if you haven't. For those that did, welcome aboard, and thanks for being here. Comment below. Let me know what you think of the Charles Martel, and fair winds and fair seas, captains. I will see you in the St. Louis video. So have a wonderful day, captains, and this is your host, USS Endeavor, signing off.